Okay, folks, welcome live. Come here, little fella.
It's not Sunday, it's Monday.
Let me have the
And
little
it's
fella.
February 28th, 2011. 18th anniversary of when they went
So
in
you
there and
agree I'm
attacked Waco.
pimping him?
In
Hey,
a positive way.
We took him to a casting call. He's in a database for a casting agent. So if they need a cute little 2-year-old kid, he's a candidate. So Jay, what's that there cow say?
He can be another Charlie Sheen.
Milk.
What's that? There you go. What's that there cow say?
Milk.
What's
Milk.
milk?
Gaku.
Who's this? Who's this?
Dada.
No, that's Jacob. Who's this?
Dada.
Jacob? Yeah. That grandpa. See, that's TV. See, you're on live TV there.
Can you say hello?
Can you say hello? Can you, Jacob Davis, say hello?
How about you give everybody your face? Let us see your face. No?
Well, you are a cute little fella. His hands have gotten big. That's his biggest thing that I've seen him grow is in his hands. So this is live TV. See, there's Jacob Davis right there. See? That Jacob Davis with Grandpa Davis. See? This is Jacob. What's that there cow say? What's that there cow say? All right.
He wants his contract signed before he gives it.
That's right. That's right. Cute little fella. And yeah, I am. I think we could do pretty well in film and TV
And support you in your old age.
Yeah, that's right. I could see the Jacob Davis show coming up. Rock on. Okay, good enough.
All right.
Okay, now
Okay.
we're gonna go to. We've got in the studio. We've got Mr. Gary Johnson, radio host on Rule of Law Radio Network.
Sunday nights.
Sunday
That's a
nights,
great show, by the way.
8
I
p.m.
think it is.
Yeah, well, you and I've been on it, so that's going to make it great right there.
Right on.
Okay, now and to my left here we have Mr. Mike Hansen, who is seeing a lot of these protests from these teachers and things. And
It's not going to be
has
very.
some-
This is not going to be very popular.
Has
I've
some-
been told that it's not a popular thing to talk about, but some of us believe that these so-called government training schools, we could care less if you cut the money. Matter of fact, I wish you would cut it all. Just get rid of it altogether. I'm not against Gary. I'm not against if we all want to get together and hire a teacher and build a school and voluntarily pay out to pay the teacher and to everybody pitch in and build the building. But to put a gun to your head, Jeff, and say you're going to pay this property tax, this school tax, or we're going to come with a gun and take your home with force, I'm against that, Gary.
Right.
And I'm also against y'all out there are fighting. Y'all slaves out there are fighting over some crumbs that the slave master's giving you. Oh, they're going to cut a social worker over here. They're going to cut a librarian over here. I could care. I hope you cut all the social workers. Don't you, Jeff?
I hope they get rid of
And
all the cops.
The reason why I
think
say
they ought to
that,
get rid of all the cops.
the reason
first.
why I say that is, not only do I not want y'all fighting over the crumbs that the slave master gives you, I want to get rid of the slave master altogether. That's my whole point. And we contacted TAG, which I'm very disappointed in you, John Bush. I thought maybe we could see eye to eye, but they said that's unpopular to say to get rid of the government training schools. I could care less. And if you want us to educate your children, you need to pay for it. Don't come to all the rest of us and rob us and steal from us to pay for these so-called public schools. If we want to pay for these schools, we will pay for them voluntarily, Perry, not for y'all to come around. And did you know, Gary, they have one way you could save money is to get rid of these appraisal districts. Did you know they have these appraisal districts that come
Yes.
around and take pictures? They come around. We're doing a house down there in Gonzales. They came 3 times taking pictures, trying to sneak pictures and come on the property, seeing how much they could go up on the taxes.
On the property?
On the property, we
They're not
called the
supposed to do that.
By the way, we called the police, and that's trespassing, and they got thrown off. So it's just, what are they going to go up? You know, we decided since they
Well, they just make up the numbers anyway.
yeah, just make, but that's one way they could get rid of the so-called deficit or debt or whatever. Get rid of these appraisal districts, and that would save. How many counties do we have here, Gary? 300 some odd.
254.
254 counties, and we got 254 nice buildings in every one of these counties that are appraisal districts in. Only thing they do is decide how much they're going to your property's worth. That's all they do. Don't you think that's
I think they ought to get rid of all the cops first.
well? Maybe we can start with the school.
At least 90% of the cops, because all they're doing is not their vast majority of their time. They're just running around terrorizing people with the war on drugs.
Not only is this, Jeff, you've been saying this for years
it's true.
About
It's
the
true.
Communist Manifesto.
It's true. Here
Well,
it is.
read it to them.
Right here it is.
It's the 10th plank of the
It's the
Communist
10th plank of the Communist Manifesto.
We got a
Karl
close-up?
Marx's Communist Manifesto. Right here it is.
It's
See if we can get a close up. Maybe, maybe not.
well, it says, I forget the exact wording. It says
to
public
read it.
schools are
Right there it is. It's the 10th one right here. Right here. 10th plank
You can almost read it. Free education for
all children in public schools. Abolish the children's factory labor. Whatever that means. I don't understand. But that is right there. It is, folks. Here's number one is like let's see. Number one is abolition of property and land and application of all rent. That would be property taxes.
Well, somebody said they're just about done with
heavy
all of them.
progressive.
It's also
oh
eminent domain too.
yes.
Somebody said they're about done.
Oh, I'd say they're all in
Right,
there.
I think number
But
9. They're
but-
still working on number 9.
But the whole point of reason why I wanted to come on is, you know, you see these teachers and these parents and the kids all out here with umbrellas, and they're saying, "Oh, don't cut our schools and all this." Well, if y'all want to pay for y'all schools, go right ahead, but leave us out of it. You know, there's like my mother hadn't had kids in school in 40 years, and she's still paying $7,000 a year over here in Travis Heights. And now, if she stopped paying that, they'd steal her home.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of elderly people out here that cannot pay these heavy-duty property taxes. That maybe some of them haven't even had kids at all, and they're out here paying.
Right.
I think we need to change the system, Gary.
So
somehow.
you don't feel. So you don't.
Oh,
you
no.
feel no love for those protesters out
No,
there.
I wanted to get a protest to on the other side of the street to get rid of the public schools altogether, which I call government training schools.
Well, I think with this so-called "quote-unquote" budget crisis, well, now come on, Gary, you got to play along with it a little bit.
All right.
But
It's a budget crisis?
but I think it is time to start looking at alternatives like
Absolutely.
religious schooling, charter schools, private schools, homeschooling. I
Church
think
schools.
it is a good time to start looking at alternatives.
Yeah, and I don't see why that you know, my mother went to a so-called Little Red schoolhouse, and so did my 2 uncles, and one of them's an engineer, one of them's an aircraft mechanic, and my mother was a nurse, which she inspected nursing homes. You know, they all had good educations in these so-called Little Red schoolhouses, and the community got together and they built the school, and they also paid the teacher. That would keep an eye on things, don't you think, Gary? That if somebody was having to actually pay for it, you know,
Right.
You know, you got renters out here that have 6 kids and they're not paying anything, but then they complain that the rents are so.
They're paying indirectly.
Well, but they say the rents are so high. The reason why the rents are so high is because of these schools.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
So no counter protest plan at this time.
Well, they're having one on March 12th at the Capitol. If TAG wants to have something, they got the people now. You know, they have the list of people, and I think that's if TAG is really wanting to do something. Just because it's not popular don't mean we shouldn't be doing it. We've been talking about Waco here for 15 years.
Yeah.
It wasn't popular 15, 16 years ago to talk about Waco, folks.
And we're
By the
fixing-
way, we're fixing to have Clive Doyle on the phone. He's going to be calling in from Waco. This is the 28th of February. 18 years ago today is when the ATF attacked Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
And a lot's happened in 18 years.
That's right.
We've been up there and rebuilt the chapel and everything else.
Yeah,
And it's Catherine Madison died this year.
Yeah.
Or last year.
Last year, yeah.
And she was one of the oldest survivors. And Clive Doyle's mother died in the past.
Yeah,
so there's not many of them left, folks.
Both have been in this studio.
They've
by the
both
way.
been right here in
Yeah,
this studio many
yeah.
times.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I'm going to let Gary T get on here.
Okay, so well, just keep us posted, Mike.
So the point of it is we need to not fight at the bottom over crumbs and just get rid of the slave master altogether. That's my point.
What was that thing on March 12th you mentioned?
They're having a protest at the Capitol to get
they?
more funding for the schools.
Oh, fooling.
Yeah, we don't need any more funding for the schools at all.
Is that a school day?
Who cares?
Well,
I'd say,
I'm in school.
you know what? If the kids didn't go at one day of school, I don't think it'd make much difference these days. Tell you the truth. Do you, Jeff?
Well, I think if you look at studies, private schools and homeschoolers probably do better as far as
Oh,
what
I
they're
know
actually
so.
learning
They're better than the
than the
spelling
government
bees every
school.
time.
It seems like the teachers and the people, and like Gary's talking about the superintendents and the
Yeah,
administrators.
why don't the teachers?
They're more concerned about having a job and pension benefits.
and cutting 3 social workers in Pflugerville. Well, that sounds good to me.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
cutting librarians. What do we need librarians for? We got the internet now. So
So,
okay.
what about cutting cops?
Well,
I think 90% of
I'm for cutting anything that if we can do it without.
you said yourself when you called in from Tennessee that the cops in Texas are out of control.
I drove
Way too many of them.
I drove from here to Tennessee, and literally I saw 2 cops. I don't think I saw any cops in Louisiana. I saw 1 or 2 in Mississippi, and I don't think I saw any in Tennessee. But from here to Houston, it is thick.
Yeah.
It's nothing but block by block. You got a DPS trooper out there.
A lot of
All wanting to
Williamson
give-
County
wanting to
types
give
out there,
revenue
too.
generation
That's
out. That's
right.
all they're doing. Then you got these judges.
Yeah, judges.
Oh, let me
yeah.
tell you about this judge I got a hold of in district up in Travis County Court on this ticket I'm fighting. Boy, she's a piece of work. She wouldn't let nobody talk. You can't even talk. You can't even argue your point. They said, Mr. Hanson, we're fixing to hook. What'd they say? What was the word they said? We're fixing to hook you up. We're fixing to hook you up. I said, what's that mean? They said, we're fixing to arrest you.
He
For
walked.
what?
He walked out. You might have been there.
No, I wasn't there.
Well,
No,
he
this was
walked
just-
out in the city of Austin one.
I'm not talking
He
about that.
he walked
I'm
out
talking
right in
about-
the middle of the court proceedings, and I went outside later.
Well, I went to one thing, but I don't remember him walking out.
Oh yeah.
Well, because it was they just if they don't
he
listen
just don't
to you.
take no shit from nobody.
Well, but this new one I'm involved in, her name is Miss Mueller. I don't know if she's related to these people that had this airport out here, the Austin Airport, Mueller. But this lady is something else. She's a piece of work. The other lady was really nice, but this lady that came in here now, Miss Mueller, she is a pistol. She wouldn't listen to anything I had to say. No discovery. She wouldn't let you have no discovery, no nothing. She just said, "Have a nice day," and then I was still trying to argue my thing, and they said, "I'm going to hook you up."
So basically,
That's actually good because that helps in your appeal. Because the more mistakes they make, the better off you are.
Well, I am in appeal with her because this was from the justice of the courts going over here.
Yeah.
And the last judge had said something completely different. I'm up here doing my motion, and this clerk says they're fixing to hook you up. And I said, what are you talking about? Hooked up? I didn't know what their terminology is. They said they're fixing to take you to jail. For what? Trying to argue your point?
You can appeal that too.
Well, things are getting bad out here.
Oh,
just
I
try
know.
not to get. I say just try not to get tickets as least as possible. I know it's hard out here with this revenue generation, but you get mixed up in their courts over here, and it's not pretty.
Oh, I know. Yeah, like Rome.
Oh,
Just you're up there, and the judge is in a big, big old.
That poor judge has got some sort of inferiority complex. I'm sorry.
It's like Rome.
yeah. All right. God
Okay,
bless
so
y'all,
keep us
Gary.
posted on that.
All
What's
righty.
going?
And we're fixing to have Clive Doyle on.
That's right. That's right. Come here, Jacob. Okay,
gonna
little
join us,
fellas,
Gary?
little fellas. Come on, Gary. Okay, so here we have it, folks. All this
plank.
protesting going on out at the state capitol or all over the country.
Free education for all children in public schools.
Yeah, 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto. Did you know that, Gary?
Yeah, I'd heard talking about that before. And
Right there
it's
it
right
is.
there in, yeah.
Right there it is. See, number one, that would be income or property taxes. Number two is your income taxes.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Abolition of all that'd be like death taxes, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. This is the Federal Reserve Bank. Number five, centralization of credit in the hands of the state. This would be like the FCC, centralization of the means of communication. Right here, though,
This right here, too, definitely extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the
yeah,
state.
we're seeing that. Yeah.
That's it.
And then
Means of
number 10,
production
they're
in the
free
hands of the
education
state.
for all children in public school. So when you see all these people out protesting and demonstrating, for more, for these government workers, they're actually advocating for the 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
That's something, isn't it?
It is. It's right under our noses.
Yeah.
People don't even know it.
So I thought so McCarthy was right then.
McCarthy was right.
Yeah, so. Okay, folks, now, like Mike Hansen had said, we are scheduled to have Clive Doyle on the show here tonight, right there. This is the KI. Can we go ahead and just run that now, Mike, or you can't get the video to play? Okay, right, okay.
Well, it looked kind of small.
Well, basically,
Well, it's all about cult members.
yeah, it's all okay. Today is, like Mike said, this program began officially in late 1992, and by this day on 1993, I had the real first landmark issue for this show. I was against from the beginning what was going on on this day in Waco, Texas. For about a week or so, it was nothing but just these FBI daily press briefings, quoting out things like, he said he was Jesus. They had guns in there. They were molesting kids, and just like one thing after another for a week.
Yeah, and it was all lies. I mean, the kids had already been investigated by Child
That's
Protective
right, yeah,
Services.
that's right.
The guns were legal. Yeah.
That's right. And so anyway, today, so this was really the first landmark issue of the show back in 1993. And today, at 6 o'clock, I was watching the local CBS affiliate here in Austin, Texas, KI. And the anchor was Ron Oliveira. And it was really horrible. I would think that the local CBS affiliate here in Austin, Texas would be a little bit more intelligent about their reporting, because it was just like on this day 18 years ago, loving government agents, raided a vicious compound of cult members. It was just. And I have something different to say about the whole thing.
This is why people don't trust the mainstream media anymore. It's just they've just given up. That's why they go to the internet or the Jeff Davis show, and I don't know why the press keeps making these mistakes, because people just aren't buying it anymore.
Well, I would think the local Austin, Texas affiliate, being so close to the whole situation,
Yes.
would know better, because there was enough protest here. Myself and you were against it. Terry
Yes.
Liberty Parker was. I mean, there were plenty of people.
We went to Waco and
here
protested.
and were against the whole thing. But what what is missed in the whole Waco thing, the whole Waco situation in 1993 is that on April 51 days from today in 1993, the federal government instructed government agents to climb into tanks and to drive those tanks into buildings occupied by men, women, and children. And I've vowed that there will be no more Wacos in Texas or anywhere else as far as I'm concerned. Because amidst all of the stuff that was said about the Davidian people, they were Americans, and the government doesn't have the right to drive tanks into a building occupied by men, women, and children.
Right. Yeah, I'll never forget that morning when I seen those tanks pull in there, that I knew nothing good was going to come out of that. I mean, you know, once you get that type of weaponry in there, that well, they're just not going to back off. It's going to be a real bad ending.
Well, there was a story, and I think it was an AP back in 1993, or not, maybe it was 1994, 95. But during one of the trials, a government agent actually took the stand and admitted that he jumped into the tank and drove that tank into that building on orders. Mm-hmm. Now, I think minimum that's that's murder, or at least negligent homicide or manslaughter.
If I drove a tank into your house, I think you could charge me with something.
That's right. That's right. And that's exactly what happened. 51 days from today, 18 years ago. Just a very bad day for Texas and the nation, really. Right there's some footage of it. But it's amazing that the way the media still covers it.
How many? I'm trying to remember. It's like they had so many agents coming in to raid the place. They had to come in like in cattle cars or something. They just surrounded the place, and it was a. I mean, they just started shooting from the very beginning.
That's right.
It wasn't just the last day. Today's the anniversary of the first day. I mean, that's. I think we should not, just look at the last day. The first day is infuriating. That the government went in there and just started shooting these people, and Koresh actually tried to negotiate with them from the beginning, and they were just shot. They shot him. They shot bullets to the door. I mean, and this door conveniently disappeared because it was evidence that they started the shooting. The ATF started the shooting.
Yeah, and in fact, Winston Blake, who was one of the Branch Davidians, it was reported he was just sitting in the kitchen eating a piece of toast.
Yes.
And got shot right in the head.
Yes.
Sitting on his bed.
Yep. Well, wherever.
On his
bed.
But
yeah. So I mean, so the government really.
They had a helicopter flying over, shooting down.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And so that's Clive Doyle, who's hopefully will be calling in here in a few minutes. He was one of the ones that actually was in the Mount Carmel facility for the entire 51 days. In fact, his hands, you can see scar tissue on his hands and his arms when he got burned trying to get out of the building. So, pretty emotional thing. And like I say, I hope we don't see a whole lot of these type incidences again. As far as I know, I mean, the government still kills people. War on drugs, they kill people, but just to consolidate and kill 100 people or 80 people or however many they killed that day.
Yeah, the whole thing apparently was a stunt to get more money for their budget.
You think so?
Yes.
Huh? Yeah, but it was just.
But it went bad.
Yeah. Now I want to talk a little bit about right there. Yeah, there's that's. Right there's Clive and Catherine Madison. That was back in 1996. Good job, Mike and Wanda. That's perfect. Yeah, well, she's deceased. But all my time, there's Clive right there. All the time I've spent with these people, I don't consider them cults or cult people. They're really a spinoff of the Seventh Day Adventist
Right.
Church. which
And this was a very interesting group of people. I mean, some of them were very well educated from Harvard, and they just basically apparently just went there to study religion. That was the whole purpose of the.
Most of them had good jobs outside there, and they all contributed for food and shelter and everything. But like you said, the Texas CPS admitted that there was no evidence of child abuse there.
If there had been, that they would have gone after them.
In fact,
would have taken the kids away long before.
David Koresh used to run around Waco,
Right.
for his running trips. And reported he had regular discussions with the sheriff. So the whole thing was just. But any way you think about the people there, the whole situation is that I've always maintained is what we can have is a government that drives tanks into buildings occupied by men, women, and children. That's the bottom line.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I want to comment. This selective use of the word cult. I mean, what's a cult? It's you're in a cult. I'm in a religion. I mean, this is something that I think
Very subjective.
Yes, and we wouldn't tolerate that if we said that if it were being said about anyone else's religious beliefs.
Yeah. It was just part of the demonization effort, I think, to justify. Now I want to talk a little bit about the Hegelian dialectic. Now I've talked about this on this show before, but back in the 1880s, there was a German philosopher named Friedrich Hegel who devised what he believed was a system for the power elite, the power structure, to control and manipulate the masses. And it's referred to as the Hegelian dialectic. And basically what it is it's what thesis, antithesis, synthesis. You create the problem in step 1. In step 2, you create fear and hysteria. And then in step 3, you come in with the problem or with the solution for the problems that you created in step 1.
On the Branch Davidian.
Isn't that nice?
Well, the reason why I'm bringing it up right now is you've got all of these things in the Middle East, Yemen, Iraq. They're protesting in Iraq. Now, the supposed democracy that was built in Iraq from killing 1 million Iraqi civilians. There's thousands of them protesting in Iraq now. And the reason, and now you've got Wisconsin, you've got here in Wisconsin, Ohio, these demonstrations, these protests. And the reason why I bring the Hegelian dialectic up is the power elite benefits from crisis and chaos. Would you agree with that, Gary?
Oh yeah, because like you say, they create the problem, and then of course they've got, quote, the solution. That their way of solving
their solution.
Yeah. And of course it's always taking something away from the people.
Right.
No matter what it is.
That's the solution.
It's something that the people need to have taken from them.
Right. Either rights or basic necessities or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen this. Well, we saw this after 9/11. Oh, they have the Patriot Act. And over in Egypt, it seems more like a military coup than anything else. I mean, so there's always somebody there who happens to have the solution. But I think what you're saying, Jeff, is they had the solution before the problem.
Yes. Well, it's just the war on drugs is one of the main mechanisms for creating chaos and crisis and death and mayhem. It's a constant with the war on drugs. Okay, but now you also have all these other things popping up. Huh?
Oh, okay.
Now you have these other protests and things popping up, and I wonder.
Well, I don't. Do you think that the Wisconsin protests are connected? I'm not sure I know Glenn Beck thinks they're connected. I think that all the Middle Eastern things are all connected, but Do you think that the Wisconsin thing?
It depends on really who's behind it.
Yes.
If it's central bankers, some people believe
Yes.
that international bankers are really running the show.
Yeah,
World bankers.
certainly have a lot of power.
They certainly do. So they could be the one. Is he on? Okay. They could be the one somehow financing it and pushing it in order to bring this global system into place
Right.
that they want.
Right. I think that's probably what's going on in Libya and places like that.
Yes, because you got to wonder about the funding. Who's funding all these things? And
And I got the 17 little children if you want to take a break after Clive gets off.
let's do it. Yeah. Okay. Is he calling in?
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we're fixing hopefully here to have Clive Doyle call in. Clive survived all 51 days in Waco, Texas in 1993, and that should be Mr. Clive Doyle. Let's try it. Hello? Hello, Clive. This is Jeff Davis. Thank you, sir.
How you doing?
We're doing great here. We've got, I want to thank you for calling in, Clive. Let me mention to you that the local CBS affiliate, the KI here in Austin, Texas, ran just an unbelievably horrible piece about today being the 18th anniversary of the raid. It was, you all were cultists and it was just awful. So
Can you hear?
I'm sure you're used to it,
Yes.
but that's one of the reasons why I asked Mike to call. Have you, if you'd be available to call in, because it's just, the whole thing is just ridiculous. And Gary, I want to go ahead, Clive. First off, how do you feel? It's been 18 years ago today when the whole raid came down. What's your thoughts on it? Either then or now.
Well, at the time it happened, it was a shock to all of us. So we were not expecting it by any means. For them to come in there shooting and it came out in the trial later on in San Antonio that they hadn't even brought the search warrant with them. They said they were out there to serve a warrant.
Go ahead. We're all listening. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Clive. We're all listening.
We're getting some overlay here.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Clive. You're coming across
You
here
sound
fine.
great.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Go ahead, Clive.
I got a lot of stuff going on behind. I can't hardly hear you.
Really? I wonder why.
Is there some?
Is there a video? Is there something running, Jeff? Okay.
We hear you fine. Clive.
Yeah, actually, yeah,
You're crystal clear.
yeah, we hear you fine, Clive. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I had music and all kinds of stuff playing there for a minute. I wasn't sure whether you could hear me.
Oh yeah, we hear you fine. So take us back again, February 28th, 1993.
Well, we would, we'd gotten up and had breakfast and everything, and I happened to hear a bunch of people in the cafeteria area, and kind of quite a crowd in there, and I went in to see what was going on, and David Koresh walked in from the other side and said that he just got news that something was going down, that that there was people coming, and told us to all just go back to our rooms, and he'd go down to the front door and talk to them and see what they wanted. And next thing I knew, there was shots fired from outside, just coming in all over the place. And that was pretty traumatic. I've been shot at before, but this was the first time, with such a huge amount of people. And by the end of the day, we had 6 people dead, and and several wounded, and it was pretty traumatic.
I imagine so, Gary.
Yeah, Doyle, there's something I always wondered, and whenever David went, or when he was in the kitchen there, did he have a weapon with him at that time?
I don't recall seeing him with a weapon.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's conspiracy theories, Clive, that the four agents that were killed that day weren't even shot by Branch Davidians.
I've heard that. I can't say one way or the other. I know that, the government tried to make it sound like we ambushed them or something, that just everybody was just shooting at them. But I saw a couple of guys that once the shooting started, they reacted by getting some weapon, but they were a small minority. The rest of the people, most of the people in there were unarmed and like I said, taken by surprise. And, when David went to the front door and opened it to see who was coming in, they just start shooting through the front door. They shot Perry Jones, David's father-in-law. They shot David. And like I say, after a few hours, we had 6 people dead. And, that's a strange way to come in and serve a warrant, if that's all they had, a search warrant. But I think they had more ulterior motives on their mind when they first started. Maybe not all of the individual officers that took part in the raid, but somebody had a plan to do more than just serve a warrant.
Yeah, and go ahead, Gary.
Clive, what were you doing that time? Were you just...
Well, I'd been in my room. Like I said, we just had breakfast, and the only reason we probably weren't out working outside was that it was had been drizzling rain, and so we hadn't got out. Most of the guys were still in the building and hadn't got to go on to work. But like I say, I was in my room and I heard all these people in the cafeteria, which was across the hall from where I was, where my room was. And when I got out there, they were tossing around that somebody had called in and said that something was going down, like a raid or something. Nobody seemed to really know what was going on, except that they'd heard something was up. And about that time, like I said, David came in and confirmed that he'd heard that somebody was coming. So he just told us all to stay calm and go back to our rooms, and he would go down and see who it was. Sheila Martin, her story is that she was upstairs on the second floor, and she saw the trucks come down the gate. I didn't see anybody driving in because I wasn't looking out the window, wasn't expecting anything, so I wasn't looking. But she happened to look out the window, and she thought they were delivering building supplies. They had these trucks with like horse trailers on the back, but they were covered with tarpaulins. Well, it turned out they had all the agents in these trailers, and so it was a shock to her. She just thought somebody was delivering building materials. But once all that shooting started, it was a weird experience. You'd think we'd all be cowering and trying to duck bullets or whatever, but I found myself running down to the front door, expecting to see a bloodbath in that general area because of the volume of shots that came in. And as I went down the hall, I found Perry Jones crawling up the hall, screaming that he'd been shot, and Tommy David had been shot. And so I ran further down to the front door area, expecting to see David laying on the floor, maybe a whole bunch of others, but when I got down there, it was empty. And so I came back to Perry Jones. I said, well, I thought you said David was shot. He says, well, he was, but he ran up the front stairs, up to the second floor. and we found out later that he got shot again up there. So he had 2 wounds, one through the wrist, which he'd got at the front door, and one through his stomach. It went in the front and out the back, straight through wound. But it was bad enough to where he figured he wasn't going to last much longer. He thought he was dying. And we all figured perhaps the same thing. You know, he was in pretty bad shape there for a while.
Clive, I want to mention that you're having a get-together, some type of get-together again on this April 19th.
April 19th, yes.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, we haven't got it all set up as far as the place yet, but we're hoping to have the same motel that we had last year, well, the last couple of years. And I've yet to confirm that we can get that booking, but last 2 years we've been at the what is that? The Country Inn and Suites on the southbound lane of Interstate 35. So it'll probably start about 10 o'clock, and we're hoping to have food there this year. Instead of going to a restaurant, we'd probably eat right there at the motel if we can arrange it all and get it all organized. So we'll probably be there for 3 or 4 hours. Usually after that, a number of people usually want to go to the cemetery or out to Mount Carmel. It just depends what they want to do as far as after the service is over. But we're hoping to have a pretty good crowd.
Well, I figure Mike Hansen and myself will be there at minimum.
Okay, that's good.
Anyway, Clive, we're fixing to play 17 Little Children.
Okay.
So is there anything else you'd like to add, or is that, or you want to finalize? And I do thank you for calling in again.
Well, the longer time goes since this happened, because more and more of the survivors are dying off. But fortunately, I don't think we've had news of anyone dying this past 12 months, which is a good thing. Last year we just lost Catherine Madison.
Yeah.
And so, she died just a couple of months before. But hopefully there won't be any new names to add this year. But the ones that are still around, scattered around the country, are getting fewer and fewer as time goes by. And I'm just hoping that if the Lord allows us, those of us that went through this experience to die, that others will keep the memory of what happened and then, keep it going, even if we're not still around. But as long as we are, we'll try to, tell the latest generations of the horrific thing that happened 18 years ago this year.
Okay, Clive, and like I say, we'll probably see you April 19th.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to it.
Okay.
You take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, any final comments about all that?
It was just uncalled for tragedy. I mean, that many really innocent people having to be killed like that.
I think it was just basically murder.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel.
It just must be terrible. I mean, apparently these bullets are just coming in all over the place, and nobody knows what's going on. And I mean that just has to be terrifying.
Mass
And
murder.
this is the men, women, and children in there on that day, February 28th.
See, if I was a tank driver, I wouldn't be a tank driver. But if I was a tank driver and then they gave me orders to drive that tank into that building, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
So, That's the way I feel about it. Anyway, folks, we ready? We're going to play 17 Little Children. Oh, tell us quickly about your story. You had a
I
little...
can't do it in 30 seconds.
Oh, you can't do it in 30 seconds? Go ahead.
Oh well, this
Well,
will okay. Here's the story. This is I'm sorry. This is a complete change of subject. Why don't you play the tape?
Yeah,
We'll do it
okay.
after.
We'll do it after. Okay. All right, here we go, folks, and we'll be back in what, about 4 minutes, Mike?
I don't know how. Y'all can cut it off anytime.
Okay. Here, there's You Burn It, We Build It. Of course, you know we got involved in.
That's right.
Built.
I've known the Branch Davidians a long time, and I think they're good, God-fearing people. I think they were demonized.
Raise your hand if you need to have instructions. Most are galvanized by the thought the federal government murdered the Davidians. They videotape deputies who come to hurry them along. They don't trust law enforcement anymore, or the media. With donated materials and labor, take exit number 339. They receive directions. Head to ground zero.
We're going to rebuild it!
Waco. At the Davidian compound, the work begins even as the convoy pulls in.
We're just thankful to God that there are certain people in this country that still got a spirit of assistance and wanting to do, something to show their sympathy and their concern for what happened here, and we appreciate it.
It's called the Phoenix Project, a church that will rise from the ashes of the Branch Davidian compound.
I think it's important that we have a place to worship again after our church was destroyed.
Volunteers are doing all the work. Volunteers such as Austin contractor Mike Hansen.
We just think it's the right thing to do.
When I looked and saw the people and how they're helping, I didn't think anybody had the guts to do it. But I'm finding out, and I know there are people outside that agree with us. They're just afraid to speak up.
Just in case you don't remember, let me jog your memory. In a church they called the Waco compound, back in April '93, 17 little children, all so helpless and so small, died a senseless death of gas and flames. How many names can you recall? 17 little children. Don't it make you wonder why? 17 little children. How could they deserve to die? Maybe we should stop and ask ourselves, have we become so blind? Will 17 little children finally open up your mind? How did you sleep last night, Bill Clinton? Tell me, did you feel their pain? As 17 little children cried out and perished in the flames. Attorney General Janet Reno, I accept your offer to Yesterday I sold my TV set, stopped my subscription to the Times. To me it's plain to see the media was an accomplice to these crimes. 17 little children. Don't it make you wonder why? 17 little children. How could they deserve to die? Maybe we should stop and ask ourselves, have we become so blind? Will 17 little children finally open up your mind? Open up your mind.
Folks, we're back live here for 2 more minutes. Gary Johnson's got a quick story for us.
My quick story is a kind of completely different subject. So about 2 weeks ago, Tuesday morning, this is before 9 o'clock, about 8:45, I get a telephone call. And it's a woman, and she says she's with the Internal Revenue Service. And she says, but before I talk to you, I need to confirm that you are who you are. Can you give me your Social Security number? And I say, I don't give that over the phone. So we went back and forth for a while. Anyway, she said that they're investigating me and that there's going to be a summons for me, and I had to go report to the Austin office, and I was in big trouble. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. And she said, I told her I have a lawyer, and so I called up my lawyer, and she said if she didn't hear from my lawyer within by the end of the business day, there was going to be a summons out for me. So I called my lawyer, and he called her, and anyway, the punchline is, it turns out they were looking for another Gary Johnson.
Is that right? Another Gary Johnson.
Punchline they shouldn't be looking for any of us.
That's right.
That's the punchline. We should be against that too.
That's
like
right.
Schools were against the IRS too. Right?
Well, IRS, what's that number? Heavy progressive or graduate income tax. That's
the
number
second
2 on the
second plank of the Communist
Manifesto.
That's right.
So, of course, we're against it, Mike. No one here likes communism. So that's the way that's the way that is. Okay, folks, I think we are live next week. So, Gary, final comment.
Well, a really good show tonight, Jeff, as always. And it was really interesting comments.
Oh, yeah, the bakehouse.
If you want to discuss any of these issues, we'll be at after party.
292-0070. 292-0070.
Well, I don't want to talk on the phone. Y'all come out and talk to us in person.
Yeah, come on down to the bakehouse. Okay, guys. So like I said, I think we are scheduled next week.
Next Monday.
So see you then. Love you. Bye.